Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Verosint Live. We are here today to talk to you about account fraud, all things detecting and preventing fraud. But first of all, let me introduce who I am here with today. I'm here with Mark Batchelor. He's the CTO and co-founder of Verosint, and also Travis Favaron, VP of Product here at Verosint. Today, we're going to talk to you about turning negative events into positive outcomes in our platform. So Travis is going to give you an overview. Mark's going to give you another amazing demo so you can see it in action. And then we'll have some time for Q&A at the end. So if you have any questions, please be sure and put those into the chat box. This session is being recorded and we will save it for you to watch on demand, share with all your friends and family, and watch it over and over again. For now, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Travis to kick things off.
Thank you so much. All right, let me pull my screen up here. Just a few quick slides and then we'll get into a demo. So negative events into positive outcomes. What does that mean? So it means you can send all different types of events to Verosint. Sorry, my dog's in the background. You can send all different types of events to Verosint, including successful logins, login failures, verification success, MFA success, and failure. And some of these things are new. So you note a few of them denoted there that we just recently started adding the ability to send negative events, which is why we wanted to bring that topic up today. And a little bit about how you can send those events. So two main ways. If you're using Auth0 log streaming, you can, through the log stream, just add these additional event types to your configuration, hit apply, and it'll start sending them. Also, just as easy from the API. So as you trigger events and send them in through the API, you'll notice there's a new type field that defaults to login success, and you can send a variety of different event types as described before, and those will get consumed into the platform and tracked against the accounts they're associated with and all of that. So you can take advantage of them in rules with all the new signals we have associated with them. So with that, I will turn it over to Mark to show you kind of how the evaluation works, what rules and signals are available to you with all of these additional event types.
All right, thank you, Travis. Let me get my screen shared. So this is going to be a pretty quick one today, demo-wise. Mostly, I'm just going to show what it looks like to use a negative event in a rule. I'll show what a negative event looks like in signal print. And then I'll talk briefly about what you might want to use this type of thing for. Sky's kind of the limit, but the types of things we envision people really using this for, we can go with. All right, share my screen. Okay, can you see that okay there, Travis?
Yes, I can.
Yes. All right, excellent. Okay, so basically the first one I wanted to show here is these negative events. I just made a negative events rule set to kind of show a few things off about it. When you're doing these, initially when we first started to build our platform, the first thing that we thought was, well, we want to get successful events and we want to build a fingerprint for someone after they successfully logged in. Well, it turns out over time, what we found was that fingerprinting something and then, or signal printing something, and then also checking that against a negative event can be powerful in and of itself, right? And so the first one that just kind of comes to mind is a real simple rule here where I can look for the account. How many times has it failed in the last 24 hours? In this case, I made a simple rule that says if it's failed greater than 10 times in the llast 24 hours, I should actually say challenge, send them off to get MFA'd, right? So based on how many times I've failed my login for various reasons, oftentimes it's for a failed password. It could be for any reason, any negative reason you send us, right, for a failure. In the case of our Auth0 integration, we look at a couple of different negative events. We look at a failed username, a wrong username. We look at a wrong password. And then we look at it generally. We look at a wrong or just a failure event in general, right? So we catch all three. Anyway, in this case, I would make a call of this rule. I'd ask, has it been greater than 10 times since this thing has a failure login in the last 10 hours or the last 24 hours, 10 times? If so, I'll give back the outcome of challenge them, meaning I should now MFA the user. And then I'll also get told in my reason why, how many times they've had it, right? If you look over here on the account itself, you can see all the types of failure events we can look at. So we've got, sorry, moving my mouse around there. We've got login failed counts. So total, last hour, 7 days, 30 days. You get the idea, a whole bunch of them. We've got success counts. We've got MFA failures and successes. And then we've got these verification failures and successes. The verification failure and successes is for adaptive identity proofing, which I think Travis's slide had on it. And let's say, for example, I've been sent off to be proofed and I fail that multiple times. We can track that and then force them down a whole different path if they, do it too many times. So a couple of things. What's interesting about a few of these, so this one in particular, login failed count in the last hour, is a good way to help look for things like credential stuffing. So if somebody's going to do credential stuffing, they're going to blow a bunch of passwords at an account that they have that they think may or may not be right. And oftentimes they do it in a short time span. You could catch this type of thing here. We could catch that as well, just sort of showing it up. But in general, you could catch that type of thing here. Another thing that's interesting is that if you've integrated all your applications with our platform, this type of rule right here, where failed login count in the last 24 hours, could be shared amongst all your applications. So let's say you've got 5 applications or whatever it is, and they've all got 5 different identity providers, and they're all tracking logins differently, right? If you're integrated here, it's going to look the same, so you can track login counts across your applications in a single location, right? So failed login counts, even successful login counts for that matter. So much like an LDAP directory might do back in the day, this is tracking the derogatory event for that. And the last thing I wanted to show is in Signal Print Explorer itself, we track the last event. So we have all the events, but we track the last event, and that's what we're going to show here. That the user has. So if I click on a user, a print, I just clicked on a print, I'll see the history of that print, and this is the last known thing that it had. So this user at this print ID, or this had a login success, right? If I go back to, a few minutes earlier, there's another login success, right? So we're tracking all of them. If I go back 3 times earlier, this was a login failed, right? And if I go over here and look at the print again, I'll see login failed for this one. So we can also surface that here. And each time we've seen the print or evaluated the print, we'll associate what happened with that print when we did the evaluation to create that print. And then same thing here. This was an MFA success right here. So yeah, that's really, like I said, this is going to be a short one. That's really what we had today. Not a whole lot more to go over, frankly. Travis, is there anything I missed here that I should be bringing up?
Yeah, just going to reiterate that this opens up, we think, a lot of opportunities to catch different patterns at the login and sign up flows that you may not have had easy access to catch before, especially around looking for credential stuffing or just any sort of like brute force techniques, being able to spot trends as things start to tick up in failures. It just is a very helpful thing as far as providing, especially that challenge mechanism, right? Maybe you don't want to fully deny, but it gives you an interesting way to push towards MFA or some sort of other challenge.
Yep. And I did think of one thing that I could show here really quick since it's so fast. If you happen to be an Auth0 customer, this is the Auth0 administration console that you see here. We support what we call log streaming with Auth0, and it's a way to generate prints. It's also a way for us to consume fail and success events, right? So if I come into my log streaming here, you can see that we're streaming logs from Auth0 into our platform. It's all set up in a certain manner. The question is what things am I sending to it? So in this case, I'm actually sending in login failures and login successes, right? So we'll get all of those and process them automatically if you're a Auth0 customer. It just happens. We're working on that for Ping DaVinci. We're working on that for ForgeRock. We're working on that for a few other platforms as well. However, if you just simply want to check out our documentation and write to our API, you can do that with our signal print API about which events you send in, when, where, and how. It's all here with the API tool. The API usage is here, and then what you need to send in at any given time. So
yeah, up at API reference there, Mark. We'll take you to the very top there.
Oh, sorry. My
Yeah.
bad. There you go.
And then you'll see the signal print API and the events endpoint specifically on the left.
Yeah, there you go.
Is where all the details are on sending in the different types.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'll just since we pulled up a lot of different types of log events that Auth0 generates, they've got a lot, and so do some of the other identity platform providers. We put up the list that we accept. It's on the API documentation that we allow you to kind of use, and you'll see that we don't want to just accept any and all events without giving you some purpose with those event types. So if there's some other event type that you in your business think would be great to be able to have access to in rules and track over time, we'd love to hear about that use case. So please send us that feedback. These kind of login lifecycle ones were our first step into this, but not the last necessarily. So open to hearing what other types of events would be useful to track and have access to.
I think that's all we got for today, guys. Like I said, super fast.
Melanie, were there any other questions?
Let me look through here. Let's see. I guess one person's asking for some other use cases or examples of when they would need to use this versus just looking at the dashboard where you serve up information like credential stuffing, right? The label would tell you, looks like you have some credential stuffing. Like, when would people need to use this?
Yeah, it's a good question. So the nice part about this is it's a little bit more customizable. So our event fraud labels target different specific types of fraud, and yes, you can use those in rules to drive different behavior. But let's say you are seeing a particular kind of attack pattern in your application where you're having a lot of problems with people trying to brute force through MFA, for example. That's something you could very, very tightly target if you with a rule around MFA failure counts versus a more generic kind of fraud label around a particular type of behavior over a long term. So those are the different types of, that's one example of a use case. You could, we've also heard of people talking about how they're wanting to use it to spot different, when someone's using or they're trying to access many accounts. It's another kind of way you can use this type of failure information. So it's easy way to kind of say, hey, you've had a number of login failures. We're gonna kind of force you back to the lowest common denominator and make you work to gain your level of trust as a device or MFA or whatever again as well.
Excellent. And it looks like you answered the other question that was here. Can you work with Ping or other authentication solutions? And your answer was absolutely yes.
It's all open-ended. At the end of the day, it's just a RESTful API.
Perfect. That is all we have in the question queue. So yeah, you guys definitely short and sweet. And anything else? Do you want to share?
Nothing else to add, except I will say this: the more events you send us, the more we can find. So once you get integrated and once you get on the platform and up and running, the more stuff you can send, the better it is overall for your data in general. So Otherwise, no, thanks for listening to us today. Look at the 15 minutes on the dot. Not bad.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, everyone, for joining.